going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters. Today is, what day is it, actually?
It is Saturday, September 3rd.
Saturday, September 3rd. I'm Will. That's Eric.
What's up?
Eric, how you feeling today, bro?
I'm so excited. One, I'm back here with you.
Hell
Get to see my boy in person.
Dog.
Doing this in person is always more fun. But also we have our draft tonight. Our home league. This is 1 decade, our 10th year in this league. You've been in it for 4 years, but I've been
my 4th year
since the beginning. I'm excited, man. This is gonna be a good one.
Dude, I'm nervous about it. It just hasn't really hit me how nervous I am yet until I talked to you earlier and you said that you're actually kind of worried about the draft now.
I don't know. The people in our league are kind of wild. Things could get off the rails fast.
Yeah, and then in the background, also, I'll let y'all know, in case you do hear a random voice pop on the screen, we got our producer, Zay, in the building.
Yo!
Mr. Inky So Nasty. We'll see if he comments every once in a while, who knows. He might just sit over there quiet, but shout out him anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, so today we're going to get into kind of an update on our rankings. We've gone through our positional rankings for you guys already. But we've had some risers and fallers throughout the process since we put those videos out, so we're going to go back and update you guys on our most recent rankings. And yeah, you ready to get into it, man?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's start with running backs. Who are your biggest risers?
Obviously the biggest riser this whole week, the one that everyone's been talking about in terms of fantasy football, Mr. Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
From the Texans. With the release of Marlon Mack, even though they did re-sign him, they re-signed him to the practice squad.
Yeah.
He obviously wasn't good enough to make the cut, and they obviously do have enough confidence in Dameon Pierce as a prospect that it looks like they've handed the reins over. Rex Burkhead may get some work in the receiving game, stuff like that, but it looks like it's Dameon Pierce's backfield in a Texans offense, which don't know how much that's the part that scares me the most.
There's a few things that scare me about the Dameon Pierce situation. I think in home leagues he's still going to be undervalued. I think he should probably be going in that 6th, 7th round range. So if he goes lower than that, I think he's definitely somebody you should try to target. But yeah, one, you mentioned Texans offense. Who knows? Like they're not going to be scoring a bunch of points. They're not going to be in the red zone very often. So that's going to be an issue for him scoring touchdowns. Like you mentioned, Rex Burkhead, I think he's probably going to vulture a lot of third down work. If Dameon Pierce is going to get work in the passing game, it's probably going to be coming from early downs. And especially because they're not a very good team, if they're down in the second half in garbage time, who knows if Rex Burkhead just becomes the main back in the second half of a lot of these games. So I'm a little bit worried in that sense, but for home league purposes, like if you're talking about sharp leagues, a lot of times he's going in like the 5th round. I'm pumping the brakes on that a little bit, but in a home league, I'm definitely scooping him up once he gets to like the 7th round or so.
Yeah, just because, you have to remember that just because we know a lot of fantasy football, you probably know a lot of fantasy football because you're watching us.
Of course.
Your friends probably don't. So, unless you know that your team is highly knowledgeable, try not to be too trigger happy on Dameon Pierce because he is still a running back in the Texans offense, but he definitely rose up a lot.
A 4th round pick. It's not like he was a high draft capital guy. So there's not a ton that was invested into him. I guess that's more dynasty talk. I think if we're talking down the road, if you're in a dynasty league, sell Dameon Pierce right now. I'm seeing people selling him for 23 firsts.
Whoa.
That's wild to me. If you can get that kind of value, please do not act immediately. But as far as redraft, I think he's a pretty decent pickup. It's just you don't want to overinflate the hype.
Yeah, and he's not going to be your RB1.
No.
He's not going to be your RB1.
No. So, yeah, we talked about Dameon Pierce. He's obviously one of the biggest risers. Another guy that was a little bit more under the radar for me was David Montgomery. He's been coming up my list a little bit. I had him kind of in that RB dead zone range, like below 20 in there with like the J.K. Dobbins, Elijah Mitchell, Cam Akers. But he came out in the last preseason game, and they gave him all the run with the ones. He was on the field for every snap, third downs, all of it with Justin Fields, which is not really what I was expecting because Khalil Herbert had worked in a lot. The offseason, they had been giving him a lot of hype, saying that they were going to work him in, make it more like a committee. But it seems like it's going to be kind of a repeat of last year where he's getting basically he's the workhorse. He's going to get every down. So even if it's in a bad offense that's not going to score a lot, if he's getting all the passing work and the early down stuff, I'm willing to buy back in, like 4th round price tag maybe.
Yeah. I think the Bears offense, like you said, it's not a great offense, but it's not a bad one in terms of the pieces that you can pick up. So like if you can get a workhorse running back out of David Montgomery,
Yeah.
they're one of those grindhouse kind of teams anyway, so they are going to work David Montgomery a good bit.
Grindhouse kind of teams.
Hell yeah,
dude,
buddy.
patent that shit immediately.
Grindhouse. Hell yeah. They just churn through, you know?
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense, or even like a Cole Kmet, because we had talked about him
Mhm.
prior. There are still good pieces to a bad team. So
Yeah.
don't let a situation with the team completely turn you off from a player, because you know David Montgomery could still be a good pickup just based off of the volume alone, if that's the role they have for him.
Yeah, I honestly think, now I don't want to pump him up too much, but he's really like a discount Najee this year.
Mhm.
Like both of their offensive lines are terrible. I don't think either of their quarterback situations are very good for like maybe potentially down the line Kenny Pickett or Justin Fields are going to be good, but like this year I don't see them taking a huge step. So volume is going to be king for them, but that's kind of all you need in fantasy for like the RB2 range to make you pretty viable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's going to be effective, at least in terms of the volume as king perspective.
Yeah.
It's going to be effective. That was enough to make Najee Harris about RB6, RB7 last year.
I think even higher than that. Yeah.
Jesus. Absolutely ridiculous.
So who's your next riser?
My next riser's actually been Nick Chubb.
Really?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I really like the situations that he's in. I feel like this team is going to have to play a slower pace of football in terms of just the team itself having Jacoby Brissett and the fact that they know, all right, we got Jacoby for these 11 games. That's damn near the whole season. So that's a season-long game plan you got to come up with there.
Yeah.
I don't think you slot, the tickler back in, and this team immediately becomes this super high-paced, high artillery offense.
Yeah.
It's still going to be a similar game plan. That game plan is going to flow through Nick Chubb. So he is somebody who's been rising up in terms of, I'm not going to say he's risen up in terms of tiers because he is still in that sort of third tier of running backs, but he is at the top of that third tier for me.
Okay.
Even back into that second tier.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe we're not too far off in terms of like where we would draft these guys, but like my overall outlook I think is a little bit different for Nick Chubb. I do have him in that like James Conner, Ezekiel Elliott range. Is that around where you have him?
Yeah, I have him at the top end of that range.
Yeah, same. Okay. So we value him about the same, but I'm a little bit more nervous about him. Also, I think his ADP is a little bit higher than that. I think he's going like around the Aaron Joneses and like Javonte Williams area.
Yeah, he is. He is going like a high second round pick.
And I just don't like that investment.
Kind of
No, so similar to like how we talked about Dameon Pierce, like obviously this is a better offense. Maybe we'll see what Jacoby Brissett can do, but it's definitely a better offensive line. But he's still kind of just the early down guy. They still have Kareem Hunt there. They still have Dearness Johnson. And if Jacoby Brissett is bad, which I expect him to be, and they end up being down in a lot of these games, Kareem Hunt's probably going to be on the field a lot because he's going to be their pass-catching running back.
Sure.
So as much as I agree with you that they're going to have to rely on him because Jacoby's not going to be able to push the ball down the field or whatever, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of running backs working in that backfield this year.
What happened to like the Nick Chubb of like first and second year Nick Chubb?
I don't think anything happened to him.
He got a lot of passing work back then. I think not a lot of passing work, but I believe, let me see, actually. Is it talking about my ass? He had 49 targets his second year in the league.
Really?
49 targets, 36 receptions. His rookie year, he had 29.
See, that's more in line with what I feel like he's been getting.
Yeah.
I don't know, was that just like a roster construction thing? Like, did they not have another guy that could catch passes out of the backfield?
They've had Kareem Hunt for a while now.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I remember there was a time where I was seeing Nick Chubb highlights where he was catching one-handed passes in the end zone.
He did have that one crazy highlight where he like took it off the guy's back.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
Like he's a good receiving back. What happened?
I don't know. I don't know if you can point to those highlights and say that he's consistently a good receiving back. I'm not sure if I'm willing to put that on record.
Consistency, yeah.
I don't know. Nick Chubb, just straight up as a player, as an NFL runner, like he's one of the best pure rushers in the NFL. I don't think anybody's going to argue with you about that. But from a fantasy perspective, I'm nervous that the passing work isn't going to be there, and that he's going to be coming off the field more often than you think of with a guy like Nick Chubb, who seems like a workhorse back.
Okay, no, that's a very fair point. I think it's like you said, it's two different mindsets that kind of landed us in the same spot on them.
Yeah.
So it's like it's weird, but I see what you mean.
Yeah. Another riser for me has been A.J. Dillon. He was also kind of in that running back dead zone territory for me for a while, and I've moved him up along with David Montgomery into a tier like right below the James Connors, Zekes, and ETNs. Even if nothing happens to Aaron Jones, Matt LaFleur has made it really clear that he's going to get a ton of work regardless. Both of these guys are going to be on the field at the same time. Aaron Jones is going to get a lot of work out wide, catching balls out of the backfield, and A.J. Dillon's going to be in between the tackles. He's probably going to get most of the red zone work, so a lot of touchdowns, stuff like that are going to come his way. They got a really good offensive line there. They got a really good defense as well, and so I think that's going to keep them in positive game scripts and allow for them to just run the ball.
It's kind of funny because I think we talked about this during our the NFC North, NFC South breakdown.
Divisional breakdown.
Check that out if you haven't.
Yes, please.
Pretty deep in the draft season, but still a very good resource.
Yeah.
I think I had said something like that, where it's like Aaron Jones's role in this offense has sort of flipped from what it used to be. The year that he sort of started to boom and step into his role, he was more of the rushing down back.
Yeah.
When Jamal Williams was in the backfield, it was
Right.
the passing down work.
Yeah.
And it's weird how it sort of flipped the way it did, where now he's the passing down back because he is as efficient as he is, which kind of is my way of saying that he could have just done it all.
And probably should have. Yeah.
Probably should have. But it also kept him as fresh as he is to, I guess, be as effective as he can be in this offense now. So it's just weird to see how that role changed for him like that. But
yeah,
it's 100% right.
Yes.
They're going to need these guys because they got nobody else on that team.
I think they're going to rely super heavy on the running backs this year. And LaFleur also came out and said that they're going to do wide receiver like by committee. Like, that's the least...
They're just...
Like, no confidence in anybody.
That's not productive either, really. You're not letting anybody get into a real rhythm or groove or...
I think it just speaks volumes about like how lacking that passing or that wide receiver group is. I think Aaron Jones is going to eat this year just from a reception standpoint. And I think A.J. Dillon's going to get a lot of work on the ground. And if something were to happen to Aaron Jones, then he becomes a monster. He launches himself into probably like top 5 running back territory.
No, we're talking Alvin Kamara monster years. That's what Aaron Jones has on deck if something happens to A.J. Dillon.
If you were to go down. Yeah.
Which God forbid.
So I think he's worth... I don't know that I could get myself to take him in the 4th round, where I see him going like the back end of the 4th sometimes. But if he makes it to the 5th, I like that a lot. I think he's a guy that I'll have on a decent amount of my teams if he gets there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I guess just for my very last one, just to round out my last riser.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
I can't even troll. I can't. I'll say somebody serious. I'll say somebody serious.
No, I want you to say it. Say it out loud.
Fucking Rashad Penny, bro.
Ew, dude. Tell me why.
He's a first-round talent, bro. He's thus the efficient running back at the end of last season. Who the fuck knows what's going on with Kenneth Walker? Sure, the Seahawks are shit, but they were kind of shit last year. And all they had was Russell, and that was the ghost of Russell Wilson for the last half of that season.
Yeah, fucking mallet finger.
Yeah, he had screws in his hand. Couldn't even bend his finger. Rashad Penny's out here balling. I think people are hating on the kid, man.
Yeah.
And it's like Kenneth Walker has been dropping, as he should.
Yeah.
But I don't think Rashad Penny has been rising like he should to go along with that drop.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
No, so, all right. You said that very well. I honestly, everything that you just said, totally agree with.
Okay.
I am not willing to rank him as high as you have him ranked. I will not be taking him as high as you will be taking him. But those are all really fair points, genuinely. Like, we're joking, we're laughing. Rashad Penny, if he falls in the draft, there is a point where he becomes a value because he showed us at the end of last season, 6 games, where he was the RB1 in fantasy.
Off waivers.
Off waivers. He won people championships. Him and Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you had either of those guys.
I lost my championship because I doubted Rashad Penny. Are you going to let the same happen to you?
Nice call to action.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. I think that he has a really high upside. I just, obviously it's hard to trust that he's going to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker, they drafted with second-round draft capital.
He already can't stay healthy.
He's got a hernia or whatever Pete Carroll says he has. We have no idea.
He's got a boo-boo. He's got an ouchie wow. That's it. And old Pete, he's going to be back next week. Yeah. He's going to say that every week.
That's very true. But yeah, I think even Russell Wilson with mallet finger is light years ahead of what Geno Smith is at this point in his career. I think their offensive line has gotten even worse since last year. It was already terrible, so maybe that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But no, I think if we get to like 8th round, talking Rashad Penny, yeah, I'll take him. But you ranking him inside your top 24, bro.
Well, but look. That's just how I value him as a player. Not my, like, I get this is a fantasy football channel. This is a fantasy football podcast.
That's
I think
the
that
whole
all very serious.
point.
But I'm saying Rashad Penny, if he stays healthy the whole season, he is too good to land outside the top 20.
That if he stays healthy the whole year, he will absolutely crush his ADP.
Yeah, that's my opinion on that. That's where I land.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Am I taking him as the running back in fantasy?
Fuck no. You're misleading the people.
No. The people, y'all hear me.
Okay.
Hear me. This is my official stance on Rashad Penny. This is my official stance on Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
I know I come on here and I talk a lot of shit every week. But I think that them as players are too good to land at where their ADP is at the end of the season, all extenuating circumstances out, because we can't factor injuries, because we can't predict it. But am I drafting them as if they are landing higher than where they're at? No, because that would be stupid. That would be a lack of value, and I am a man of value. Justin Jefferson's rookie year in the NFL, I thought, okay, this guy's going to be a top 20 receiver in the league. And he finished top 20.
I give you props on that one.
But I drafted him in the 12th round?
You got him really late, and he blew up, yeah.
So it's just, you gotta know how to do this. You gotta know how to finagle.
Mm-hmm.
But
I will say, I do have Rashad Penny on my team per Will's advice.
All right.
I believe it was dumb early in the draft. I'm not sure when it was. He said, Rashad Penny's still there, you should get him. So.
Yeah. No, okay, I think now that we've clarified, I think all of that makes sense. I'm still not with you on Jameis. I can't go there.
We'll see, man.
But Rashad Penny, I agree.
We'll see. What you got on Jameis?
Jameis about to hoop. Fuck it, buddy.
LASIK Jameis. All right. Let's get this thing back on the rails. Yeah. I love the talk, but my last riser is going to be Chase Edmonds. We actually had the same conversation with him and Rashad Penny. Oh, he's on it. He's on it. Okay. Yeah, I think we got the news. Sony Michel got released. He actually landed with the Chargers. I think that actually could be fairly relevant. But that's another thing that we can talk about later.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the clear RB1. He's getting paid the most. He's gotten all the hype from the beat reporters. All of the coaches have been talking him up. He's the clear RB1. Raheem Mostert's probably going to factor in here early in the year. He's got the familiarity with Mike McDaniel. He knows the system. But he's another guy that you can't count on to stay healthy ever.
Nope.
And also, Chase Edmonds is going to get the passing work. And another thing that I've seen circulating around on Twitter that I think is a really good thing to point out, even in the limited opportunity that Chase has had, because he's never gotten the workhorse role, but in all the opportunity that he's had, like past 3 years, he's been in the top 10 in like efficiency per touch, like yards created per touch. So if he gets legitimate, they're not going to give him a workhorse role.
Right.
But like if he gets RB1, like some early down work and the passing work consistently, dude, he's going to leg that.
I absolutely 100% agree. Also like to throw on something else that Twitter likes to talk about. Tua can't fucking throw. So he's going to need somebody for those checkdowns.
Yeah.
And Chase Edmonds is the perfect guy for it.
Yeah.
He's absolutely built for that. You know, I'm hoping Tua takes a step up. I'm not confident. So I see a lot of checkdowns occurring in this offense. I see a lot of Chase Edmonds out the backfield. And like you said, even as a rusher, he's been extremely efficient throughout his entire career in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I think that with Mike McDaniels being, you know, the offensive-minded coach that he is, I think he's going to put Chase Edmonds in the right positions that he can be in to sort of succeed. Like something that I sort of see out of this Chase Edmonds, I like to relate people to people a lot. in terms of like fantasy production, but I see a lot of shades of like Chris Thompson
Okay.
with Washington all those years back. The year he popped off,
Yeah.
he was a top 10 running back in fantasy for like I think 10 weeks straight.
Yeah.
I could see something like that, but even on a bigger scale because Chase Edmonds is better
Agreed.
than Chris Thompson.
Yeah, I like that. All right, we're taking a little longer than I would have liked. That's all right. Let me talk about one avoid. It's not even really a faller in my rankings, just somebody that I'm not taking at value that I think it's important that we talk about. Najee Harris.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of agree with me here.
Yeah.
His ADP is too high. Do you have his ADP in front of you? Where is he going?
In front of me, his ADP is 8.
Like overall?
Yeah.
So he's going like just behind Dalvin and like ahead of Saquon and like DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
Too high. That's too high in my opinion. Volume is everything for him, and his situation from last year to this year is a big downgrade. They've already said that they're going to try to keep him under 300 carries. We'll see if that actually ends up happening or not. His offensive line grades out as one of the worst in the league, if not the worst in the league.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback change, you can say that Noodle Arm Ben wasn't good, but like he was checking it down to Najee damn near
every play.
Like he got so many targets just because Ben couldn't push it down the field. Kenny Pickett, especially if Mitch Trubisky's in there, he's not checking it down.
Now, Mitch Trubisky's running around like a fucking turkey with his head cut off.
Really, yeah, like actually. So I think his target numbers are going to come way down. I think his rushing numbers are going to come down a little bit. He wasn't efficient last year. I don't expect him to be efficient this year. He's not going to be a big play guy either. I just don't see the upside there, and we're just counting on volume, which I'm sure he'll get, but we're also counting on him staying healthy with that crazy volume.
Yeah, I had him last year in a couple teams, and it was terrifying watching Steelers games because he was literally, anytime that he got the ball, he is getting hit, and he's getting hit hard.
Yeah.
And Najee Harris is a bigger guy than like I had even imagined that he was. Just seeing him out there on the NFL field, he looks gigantic.
Yeah.
And those hits and those falls and all those landings, it's a lot of weight moving around all the time every time he gets hit, and it's so scary.
Yeah.
Even the one time I think he came out because it was a concussion scare. He ended up being out of protocol like 2 days later, but it's like you're waiting for that to happen on any given play with him.
Yeah, and we already had like the Liz Frank sprain early in the offseason. I'm not necessarily worried that that's going to come back to bite him, but like, I don't know. There's vulnerability there, and if he's going to get that amount of volume, like you have to worry about at a super violent position like running back.
Yeah.
It might go down. Do you have anybody that you want to bring up as avoids either?
So that was actually the same person I was going to bring up was Najee Harris. I guess if I had to bring up anyone else that I wouldn't take at ADP at running back, it's probably James Conner.
Okay.
I like the situation. I like the team. I just don't think he's going to have that same touchdown luck that he had last year.
But
there is a chance that with Chase Edmonds being gone and him being the primary back and him getting that passing work that Chase Edmonds got, it might level out, but it's just one of those situations where I just really need to see it before I believe it. So I'm not taking him as high as he is going there.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think I'm taking him probably right around where ADP is. I think he's valued okay.
Accurately.
I think the community has come around to the fact that he's not scoring 18 touchdowns again. But like you said, Chase Edmonds is gone. That offense is potent. He wasn't efficient at all last year. He was incredibly inefficient. But yeah, I think if he goes in the third round, that's not a terrible spot. But I could see being off him. That's not a bad take. Let's move on to wide receivers. My biggest risers. So honestly, I didn't have a ton of movement. This is one of the rankings that we did most recently. Mm-hmm. Another one, if you haven't seen that video, we talk about these guys way more in depth. Go check that out. But one guy that I moved up a little bit is DJ Moore.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, like, he's shown us his talent. He's shown us what he can do on an NFL field. And I don't think we've ever doubted the talent. It's just that the quarterback situation hasn't been there. I think that Baker Mayfield is a significant upgrade from anything that he's had so far throughout his career. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's like a crazy jump. But also there's just nothing else there. Yeah. Like, Robbie Anderson is clearly tailing off. His efficiency was terrible last year. He's not the same guy that he was. Terrace Marshall was an absolute zero last year. Like, he did nothing. They just brought in Laviska Shenault, and we talked about him. He's garbage.
Don't know if he can play football yet.
So, like, And the team's bad. Like, they're going to be down. They're going to have to throw. They're going to throw to Christian McCaffrey, and they're going to throw to DJ Moore. He's going to get peppered with targets. He's a really, really talented receiver who's had over 1,100 yards in all of, I think, the 4 years that he's been in the league. I think I didn't move him up that high. I think I had him at 13, and I moved him up to 11. But he's somebody that, like, when it comes to tiebreakers now, like him and, like, Cortland Sutton, them two I'm flip-flopping between as far as who I'm taking in fantasy drafts.
Got you. Okay. I guess my biggest riser in terms of wide receivers has been Allen Robinson for sure. I've definitely bought into the Allen Robinson hype.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those situations where, you know, we're looking to see how Matt Stafford's doing. That's still something that people are talking about. But in terms of just the talent that is Allen Robinson, the opportunity and the offense that he is going into, and just him being the player that he is, I believe in Allen Robinson, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I like that. I got him, I think, higher than ADP as well. I'm into Allen Robinson. I think he's going to have a huge red zone role when it comes to how LA is going to play. They've shown that they like to throw the ball when they get into the red zone. So
I just can't wait to actually see him play football, man.
Yeah.
It's been so long since we've seen him play good football.
Well, since we've seen him play good football, since we've seen him play inspired football.
Yeah.
He was sad with the Bears, man.
He's looking like Kenny Galladay out there this year.
Yeah. Some other guys that I want to touch on just a little bit. We don't have to go super in depth. Chris Godwin, he's been moving up a little bit for me just because his upside is so high. I am nervous. We've talked about this on the show before. Like, you typically don't want to buy players that are 1 year off an ACL, which is what Godwin is. So it's hard for me to totally buy in. But, you know, I've been listening to the fantasy doctors on Twitter. I've been listening to these people that know more about the actual injuries than myself, have the data to back it up. And they're saying that, like, he's a really good candidate. Like, he fits the mold of players that have returned to form in year one.
Okay.
Like that same Cooper Kupp mold.
Okay.
And like him athletically, him age-wise, and stuff like that, positionally, he puts himself in the best position statistically over the years of like injury data to come back and be himself again.
Okay.
And like if he wasn't injured, where would you draft him? Like I'm thinking he's probably a third-round pick if he came in totally healthy.
You say even last year he was going as a second-round pick.
Yeah. So I think if he had that type of upside,
if he had finished where he was on pace to finish last year, he'd probably be a first-round pick.
He'd be up there.
Because he'd have been up there in the conversation with most receptions. Because he finished with 98 and he missed what?
I think he only played like 12 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He finished with 98 catches still.
Yeah. So I just think the upside is there, and you get him at a point in the draft, typically like in the end of the 6th, early 7th round. If you can get him there, the downside of him not being himself this year just isn't that bad. Like that's not a huge sunk cost, 6th-round pick, 7th-round pick. So I'm willing to shoot for upside there. And the other guy in a similar vein is Juju. Juju Smith-Schuster goes to a new situation, goes to a better offense, a huge quarterback upgrade in a really uncertain wide receiver room. And I think he's been getting a lot of praise throughout training camp. He has the opportunity to seize that number 1 role with Patrick Mahomes. I think if he can stay healthy, which is the part that I want to talk about next, he could be like a 140 target guy, which would be huge.
Yeah.
But the thing that's scary about him is these knee issues that have been coming up. He's been having to get his knee like drained. He's been in and out of practice, and this has been over years now. This has been like the past couple of years. So I'm worried that this might be like a degenerative thing, similar to what we saw with Todd Gurley. They haven't come out and said that, but it seems to be pretty consistent. So that's why I think it's warranted that he's falling as far as he is.
Gotcha. Hopefully that isn't the case though, but
yeah.
I think I've been slowly more and more, the more we've talked about it, I've been opening up more and more to picking up Chris Godwin where he's going at, because he's going as late as he is and he slots right back into that same role that he had with that offense, and that offense is still firing on the same cylinders that they were, which they should be. You know, they've had some O-line concerns, but that shouldn't really affect the passing game all too much if Tom Brady's getting the ball off in time.
Yeah.
So it's a great situation.
Yeah.
So the next person I had on my list as a riser is somebody that you also got me back on board with just how many talks we've had. That's why I've enjoyed this so much, because I feel like we both come away from this with stuff.
Yeah.
But Marquise Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
Huge riser for me lately.
Dude, you know how high I am on him. I'm so excited for him this season.
To say I picked him in the other league I'm in with Zay, and I think the sky is the limit type of situation right here. And it's just the more I think about it and the more I think about, D-Hop last year and where he was still the alpha wide receiver of that team, but that's because he's there with the ghost of A.J. Green and with Christian Kirk at the time. But he just hasn't really been himself. I think that, I'm not going to say that has anything to do with the PEDs or anything like that. But what I'm saying is he is starting to age out. They are looking for that next guy who can step into that alpha role. Marquise Brown kind of showed last year that he can handle that kind of workload and he can handle that role in an offense. He's coming to a team with his college quarterback who, when he played with that team, he had a 27% target share.
Yeah.
It's one of those perfect storm kind of situations that I never really thought about it until you had brought it up. And I was like, no, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So he's risen a lot up at least in terms of where I think he should be at or where I think he should finish.
True. Yeah, I completely agree. If you check out our rankings, we'll post them in this video as well, but I have him all the way up at 16, which is way higher than his ADP, I think, is right now. Do you have that pulled up in front of you?
I had him at 22.
22, man.
Yeah, so I'm moving him up.
Yeah.
He's definitely going around that 16 slot as well. I'm confident moving him ahead of all of these people I've listed above him.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. In terms of people that are falling in my rankings, Jalen Waddle is in there. That's really just injury related. I'm nervous about those 2.5 weeks that he missed from training camp. They're saying now that he's going to be good to go for week 1. But they never said what it was. We saw some videos where he had a pretty noticeable limp. It's scaring me off a little bit. There's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. But if he's healthy, I'm not too worried. I still have him in that same tier of guys, that big tier of 10 dudes from Mike Williams all the way down to him. So once we get more word on that injury, then maybe I can move him back to where he was. And another guy, Gabe Davis, dude. I've been flip-flopping on him. I've been going back and forth. I think he has potential to break out, but it's just, I don't think he's that good as a player.
Yeah, he's just not that guy, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If opportunity is all that matters, and it turns out that he really is just going to be the wide receiver 2 there, he's going to get targeted a ton because they're going to pass like crazy, then I'll be eating my words. And the thing is, I didn't even move him down that low. I just moved Rashad Bateman ahead of him. I think I moved Juju slightly ahead of him. He's still going in that same territory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just scared to bet on somebody that I don't think is necessarily that talented.
Yeah, I could honestly see it becoming one of those situations where he starts out as the wide receiver 2, but then over time he kind of gets usurped. Now, who's going to be the one that does that? I'm not really too sure. I always thought of Isaiah McKenzie as more of a slot guy.
Yeah.
Jamison Crowder's definitely more of a slot guy. And they're the only 2 receivers I feel like are talented enough to usurp him in that role.
Which is why the opportunity is clearly there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have another receiver like him on the roster. Stephon Diggs, easily the one. No worry about that.
That guy, pal.
But, yeah. But Jamison Crowder, Isaiah McKenzie, who I like as a late round value, and even Khalil Shakir, who they drafted this year, all are in that kind of slot role. Mm-hmm. And Gabe Davis is the only kind of big body outside guy. So if he seizes that role and rises to the occasion, I think he could be really, really good. But I think his floor is a lot lower than people realize.
Yeah, I think his productivity is going to strictly depend on Josh Allen and just Josh Allen getting on the ball and him getting open enough to get the ball.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to for him. For me, someone I've taken out of my top 24, he was actually at 24, Mr. Michael Thomas. He is now in a void for me.
Okay.
It's just too weird of a situation. I don't know. There's been a lot of negative stuff coming out lately about, all the injuries, him not practicing.
Yeah.
And I do feel like me to put him in my top 24 would be me being super optimistic that he's going to come back to being the player that he was 2 years ago. He hasn't been on the football field since.
Dude.
So it
hurts your Jameis take.
It hurts my Jameis take.
It hurts.
But so I'm swapping him with Chris Olave. Let's fucking go! Let's ride. Nah. But it does hurt my Jameis take. I don't think Michael Thomas is going to be the same guy he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's older now. He literally hasn't played football.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, I can't have that kind of optimism about him, so I am going to slide him out of my top 24.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. That spot has been replaced by Rashad Bateman. So I'm a lot higher on him now, so he's got that 24 spot for me.
Yeah, I moved him in. He was another guy that I switched from just outside to right into that 24 spot, so I'm with you there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's too optimistic for me to put Michael Thomas in my top 24. It's way too optimistic.
Yeah.
Sorry for anybody I hurt with putting him on the list or with taking him off the list.
I don't think you hurt anybody's feelings. I think it's totally...
Probably hurt Jameis's feelings.
Maybe.
Jameis, I'm sorry.
You better be sorry to Jameis. He's not going to invite you to the cookout.
Damn, I wanted some crab legs.
All right, let's move on to tight ends. You down for tight ends?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one will be a little bit shorter. We just had our top 12 here. My risers, I think probably coming a little bit more in line with you. I moved up Goddard, Dallas Goddard, a little bit. Not too far. He's still in the same tier. But in the same vein, I'll talk about them both together. I had Zach Ertz really high. I had him as like the tight end 7.
Mm-hmm.
I've moved him down. One, it's a similar thing where like, yes, he was the tight end 4 for like the last, or once he got traded.
Right.
He was the tight end
Once
4.
he got traded and D-Hop was hurt.
Right. Yeah. So for that stretch, he was the tight end 4 for the rest of the season, which is pretty impressive. But if you go through and look at the game log, he was not a difference maker. Like, it was just the fact that he was healthy and on the field for all of those games. I don't think he had a finish inside like the top 6 tight ends that whole time.
Sheesh.
So like he's not really a needle mover, and also now he's dealing with a calf injury, and like week 1 is in question. He was really only going to be valuable for those first 6 weeks until D-Hop came back, in my opinion. So if he's already dealing with an injury, I moved him down, and I moved Dallas Goedert up. I just think this offense is going to be better than I probably projected for to begin with. Like Vegas is really pushing hard for the Eagles as far as like their NFC rankings and like who they think is going to make it.
So they got the best odds right now. I think it's
so.
66-1 right now in Vegas.
Something like that. So I'm willing to bet on this offense a little bit more than I had been previously. And I think that Dallas Goedert is a bet on talent. I think he's a really talented football player who's shown that he can earn those targets. So I moved him up a little bit.
We love the Dallas Goedert hype.
Yeah.
Someone who has slightly moved up my board just a little bit, not a whole lot, Mr. Dawson Knox.
Okay.
For the Bills. Just the fact that they don't have O.J. Howard anymore, so sort of those questions we had about how often Dawson Knox is going to be on the field and how often he's going to be the tight end 1.
It's not really a question anymore.
Yeah, it's not a question anymore.
Yeah.
So he's taking a rise up. Not
Okay.
too high, but yeah, still there. I still think he has to be very efficient to be sort of effective, but who knows? This could be a new look offense as well. Could get him way more involved now that he's got his role cemented.
Yeah, I like that take. You have anybody falling down your rankings?
Pat Fryermuth.
Okay.
I think I had Pat Fryermuth right at the tail end of mine at 12, and he's just, I'm not confident in the quarterback situation still. I believe in him as a talent. I believe in him as a player. I really do think the Steelers' offense is going to be a mess.
It's the worst kind of mess for fantasy purposes, too. It's like you have a different quarterback coming in, so you don't know what that production is going to look like. And you also have so much talent around him. Like, it's great for him, the NFL player, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, whoever it ends up being.
Mm-hmm.
But from our perspective as fantasy players, we have no idea who the ball's going to go to. You got Deontay, Claypool, George Pickens, Pat Fryermuth, like, too much going around.
Yeah, and then you still got Najee.
True.
So it's just... That's not to stray away from like Najee, because he's got his role in this offense. He's going to be touching the ball very often. But just Pat Fryermuth, I'm just not super convinced. I also haven't heard shit about him.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about Pat Fryermuth?
I haven't been hearing any buzz. I don't think that's necessarily
It's not
reason
a
to be
bad
off of
thing.
him, but that's true. Typically, when you get into these hype cycles, you're going to hear something good about everybody. So if you don't, maybe it's a sign.
Yeah, I just feel like, I feel like we're pretty in tune with everything that's going on, and for us to not hear anything about him is a little crazy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. David Njoku is another guy that I moved up just to the very back end of my top 12. I think we've talked about it before. Jacoby Brissett loves to target the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Jacoby Brissett isn't good, they're going to have to throw because I think they're probably going to be down a decent amount. And I think he's probably the number 2 target in that offense behind Amari Cooper. Their wide receiver room is not good. They got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz, who, dude, I think he's so bad.
Yeah.
But yes, I think David Njoku is a really good late round dart throw. He's going near like the very end of drafts, so if you punt the tight end completely, I like him as an upside play. And I can't not mention how in love I am with Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even moved him up. He's still 3 for me. I had him high before. But I'm targeting him in the 3rd rounds now, where before I was like hoping he made it to me in the 4th. I think he's just too fucking good to pass up on, man.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts has also moved up a lot for me. Not a lot because, you know, that range.
Right.
But I have moved George Kittle down and moved Kyle Pitts up. I've come to my senses.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Come to the dark side.
Yeah. I just think Kyle Pitts, he's different.
He's
different.
different than anybody we've ever seen, dude.
Plus, I used him on Madden. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Hey, Zay, you want to tell him about that game?
He's out the room. Damn.
Yeah, he's different.
Yeah.
And it's just, even just seeing him in game, in action, with just, you know, the circus it is a quarterback right now for them.
Yeah.
Desmond Ridder for QB at some point in the season.
Yeah.
But I just, yeah, he's a generational talent who's coming into his 2nd year in the league, who did really well his 1st year in the league, just didn't score a lot of touchdowns, which is going to change.
Yeah.
He's just a freak of nature, and for him to go in the 3rd round, that's good, considering people like not Kyle Pitts, Jesus. People like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce are going in the 1st and 2nd.
Yeah.
If you can snag a Kyle Pitts in the 3rd.
The gap between those guys is really closing for me. Yeah. So I'm just super high on him. I would suggest you hop on the train, because if you miss out, he's going to the moon then.
Yeah, because it's just, you're going to be sitting there, you're going to be looking at this guy who was a surefire pick, and you know he's a surefire pick, but you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because something held you back, and it wasn't common sense.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to talk about specifically from tight ends?
Just somebody else going up that is going to be going up. He's going to be somebody that people wish they had on their team, or they're going to wish they picked him up off waiver wires. Alberto from the Broncos.
Yeah.
He's just going to be super involved in this team. I think Russell, the team is confident in him, obviously, with the contract they just gave him. And I'm excited to see things from this offense.
I feel like you kind of flip-flop with me. I feel like I was higher on him earlier in the offseason. I've kind of cooled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting really high on Greg Dulcich, the rookie that they brought in. And so...
Recently injured Greg
Yes,
Dulcich.
which I was going to bring up is that he's going on IR, short-term IR, I believe, for the first 4 weeks. So he's not going to play to begin the season. So yeah, I think he'll probably have the opportunity. It just made me nervous that the team was less bought in on him. Like, he might not get schemed plays in the red zone, which is where I thought he was shining.
I see.
And he still has potential to do that. The guy's fucking huge. He's crazy athletic.
Monster.
So if they use him in the red zone, I think he could be a touchdown monster for sure. And I think the upside is there in that offense. But yeah, I was a little bit nervous just with how high they were on Dulcich. Like, the drum beat there was good, where it wasn't so much for Alberto.
Got you. Makes sense. But he's got 4 weeks to prove himself.
That's true. So let's move into our last position, quarterbacks. Very little moved for me.
Yeah, I didn't have too much really move. If anything, I moved Matt Stafford down
Okay.
in my rankings, and I'm moving Kirk Cousins up,
Yeah.
actually, to that 12 spot. So it's just yeah, I was just hating, honestly. I was hating on Kirk Cousins. But Matthew Stafford's got me a little bit nervous, at least in terms of how he performs. I think everyone else around him is going to perform perfectly.
Yeah.
It's just those 3 or 4 errant throws we might get from that elbow makes me a little nervous of what they could end up being.
Yeah.
And Matt Stafford is a great quarterback in this league. You know, I'm not going to take anything away from him. But from a fantasy perspective, I like Kirk Cousins more. I like the situation he's in more. I like his coaching staff. I like the schemes that they say they're drawing up for this team and how pass heavy they're going. It just makes more sense for Kirk Cousins to be up there and not Matt Stafford right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. We did that mock draft video, which again, check that out if you haven't. And he went all the way at like the end of the 11th round, Kirk Cousins did, such a value, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the difference between him and the Joe Burrows and Tom Brady's, I feel like isn't that wide. Like, sure, I would draft those guys ahead of him, of course, but like, you can get discount, barely reduced production almost at the end of your drafts. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and then pick up on those skill positions that can get pretty sparse.
Yeah.
Especially considering Kirk Cousins right now is valued at, where is he? He's ranked at the QB 14?
Yeah, I have him at 11.
No, he's ranked at the QB 15, actually.
Even lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got him at 11. You got him at 12. So I think he's a value for us, especially if we're talking like Superflex leagues, 2 QBs. He's a fantastic QB.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
going to be crazy consistent.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I love that. I actually moved up Jalen Hurts kind of aggressively. I had him, I think, at 5 prior to this. I moved him up to 3.
Okay.
I think he might be the QB1 this year, man.
I like that.
If Josh Allen slips up a little bit, if Justin Herbert doesn't start to run the ball, Jalen Hurts, he's going to be scary.
I think Jalen Hurts, all he needs to do this year is the one thing that he failed to do last year, just find a little bit of consistency.
Yeah.
Which I think coming into this offense, it's a better team on every metric you can look at.
Yeah.
Literally everyone's been going to the Eagles. It's been absolutely ridiculous. They just got Jalen Rager. No, they just got rid of Jalen Rager.
Huge upgrade.
That's a huge upgrade to the team. He's not going to be wasting any fucking time out there anymore.
Yeah.
Got fighting for a roster spot, bro. A first-round pick.
And now he's got to go sit behind Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Who he got drafted ahead of.
Yeah.
Bad look.
But I just think Jalen Hurts actually getting to settle into this role and knowing that the team kind of believes in him and is behind him is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge year for him.
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't have to draft him at quarterback 3 prices. Like, he's going behind, well, obviously behind Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, but he's going like in the range with Kyler and Russell Wilson and stuff like that in like the 5th, 6th, 7th round. So another guy I want to bring up is Trey Lance. We got to talk about his whole situation again, but if you're nervous with the Jimmy Garoppolo signing, if that scares you off, Trey Lance, take Kyler or Jalen Hurts in the 5th or 6th round, and like either of those guys could be QB1.
Yeah.
So I'm smashing that. But if you want to talk about Trey Lance, how do you feel about his whole situation now with Jimmy coming back and just like the team, what they've said so far?
So them bringing Jimmy back. I saw a statement from Trey Lance yesterday. They asked him how he felt about it, and of course, you're not supposed to say you're not happy about something.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get that negative response. But his response was sort of overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was saying like, "Yeah, bro, I'm glad he's back. I know he's got my back. I've got his back. We're just trying to make the best QB room in the NFL right now," which I think is cool from a player perspective. I think it's weird that they paid him as much as they did.
Yeah.
What was it, 1 year, $6.5 million?
Plus a lot of incentives.
Yeah. And that's just not something you really give to somebody if you don't plan on them ever seeing the field.
Yeah. I've been going back and forth on this a little bit. We mentioned it in our mock draft video. I was talking about this situation. I think it's a good move by the team, clearly, to have just the best quarterback room, like you said, in the league. But from like a locker room perspective, it's one thing for fans and like outside noise, they're calling for a quarterback to come onto the field or whatever. But like these guys have gone to 2 straight NFC championships with Jimmy. If Trey goes out there the first 4 weeks and just sucks, and they're 1-3, or like they're just not looking good because they got a really good team. It depends on the quarterback and the play of the quarterback.
And Jimmy's shown that he can get the job done. Is it going to be cute? Fuck no.
I'm not a huge fan of Jimmy.
No.
But like, that's what I'm worried about. The locker room perspective. If the locker room is like, man, we got a guy sitting right here that's carried us to the Super Bowl and to the NFC Championship in back-to-back years, like the hot seat could get there pretty quick for Trey Lance, and that could fuck with his confidence too. Like maybe that's a little too into the weeds to start talking about, but that worries me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I still think he's a value where he's going. I would still take him over probably Joe Burrow. I'd still take him over Tom Brady. I like him if he makes it to the 8th and 9th round.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the leash is definitely shorter now.
Oh, 100%. I don't blame you at all for being any further down on him you are. I am too, just because I thought that news was weird as hell.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, he's got a big target on his back.
Yeah.
Is all that this signing really showed was like, yeah, you're not safe. You're not guaranteed to play every week. But hopefully he takes that in the positive light that he's taken, and it's like, all right, cool, I got to step up.
Right.
That's all we can really hope for in that situation. But it's not a great one. And I did want to ask you this just because I've been watching a good amount of stuff, and I've seen a lot of Trevor Lawrence hype.
I think he's worth talking about. I
Yeah.
think he's worth talking about. I think Doug Peterson is going to do wonders for him.
Okay.
Obviously.
All right, it's
The
going to be better than, that guy, Mr. Oh, who's number 99 on the Rams? That guy's pretty good.
The shit show that was Urban Meyer for the Jaguars can't be overstated. It was like they were so poorly run, so poorly organized. Like the locker room scenario and the way that the players were treated was terrible. So I think they're actually going to be treated like grown men, like football players, just from like a psychological standpoint. That's going to make a huge difference for play on the field. And then Doug Peterson has shown that he can elevate quarterback play. Like Nick Foles won the fucking Super Bowl with Doug Peterson. Did you? I don't know that I've heard that one before.
What, Nick Foley and Dynamite?
I've not heard that.
I heard somebody say that. I didn't make that up.
No, I dig that though.
Yeah.
Foley and Dynamite. But yeah, no, I think especially if we're talking Superflex, one quarterback, I don't know if we need to get that cute.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of guys ahead of him, but Superflex, I like him as a QB2 this year, man. The hype around him was real. It was justified. People labeled him a generational prospect, best we've seen since Andrew Luck.
Yeah, and that doesn't just disappear.
No, it's still there. It's still there. Yeah, and I think this offense is rising. So I like that you brought that up. Where are you?
No, I'm also, I have him in Dynasty.
Yeah.
And it was something I had to think for a very long time about because we were doing extensions, and I was like, damn, what do I want to extend Trevor Lawrence for?
Give him the max, baby.
I don't know if I gave him the full max.
I don't think you did.
I think I gave him 5 or 6 years. I was like, that's going to be enough. And then at that point, either someone else will come along or I'll be able to get him back. I'll probably, with our league, I'll pay $60 million and get him for a year. But, I'm definitely a lot higher on Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that he's a bust, like people have been trying to say.
No.
He was just, your situation can play wonders into your career.
100%.
Because people were saying similar things, not super duper similar, but people were saying similar things about Drew Brees when he was with the Chargers, saying that he wasn't as good. And then he got to the Saints and sort of had a career revitalization. Now, I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is switching franchises, because obviously he's still on the Jaguars.
Might as well have, though.
But he may as well have with the way that they cleaned house.
Yeah.
And got everyone the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Like, you got to understand that Trevor Lawrence was playing quarterback for a coach who did not know who Aaron Donald was. He did not know who that was. It wasn't 99 on the Rams. Is that Aaron Donald? It was who's this number 99 guy? He's pretty good at football. So it's just, anything is about as good. One of us is a step up from that.
Probably.
So, so say Trevor is in a better spot now is an understatement.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to play some wonders in his career, and people are going to actually see, oh, okay, so he was that guy.
Yeah.
He is the guy they've been talking about. It's just Urban Meyer's a shithead.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought him up. For dynasty purposes and for Superflex purposes, he's definitely somebody you should have on your radar. So I like that.
Okay.
Anybody else you want to mention before we close it out?
Fuck Ryan Tannehill, as per usual.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Malik Willis by week 10.
Preach it into existence, baby.
Yeah, bro. Malik Willis by week 10, bro. That's all I got on the quarterbacks.
All right, bet. So that'll wrap it up. We might throw my overall rankings up here if you guys want to see that, if that's going to help you guys out. For if you guys got drafts tonight or this weekend or Labor Day, hopefully we can help you out. Check out our other videos to get prepared, do a little, speed run through what we got. Get yourself ready for these drafts coming up. And we wish you luck, man. We really hope things go well for you. Please come comment on our video if you got questions, or if you want to send us your teams, we'll grade them for you. We can talk you through that. Anything else you want to say to the people?
Nah, that's it, man. Go out, be great, and go draft some teams, bro. Fuck, I don't know.
Like,
fantasy some football.
Subscribe, all that YouTube shit that we tell everybody to do. We would much appreciate it. We love you guys for sticking with us till the end.
That's the important stuff.
Yeah.
Make us rich.
Make us rich. All right, y'all. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.
I'm winning again. How could I lose? I was born just to win. Could never lose, so I'm winning again. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning again. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning again. Minute by minute, I'm meeting.